To the people out there who are considering not voting, consider this. We, the people, are waking up. Now, we have figured out that the Democratic and Republican parties here in the United States do not mean to help us. Now, this is nothing against the Democratic and Republican Party members. Most of these people are members because they hate the other party more. Some of them actually like the party they're in because they don't see what their leaders are doing. In a few cases, we've even got members that like the party they're in because they do see what their party's doing, and they don't mean us well either. But for the most part, Democratic and Republican Party members are just being misled. The rest of us have an opportunity to change things. At last count, I think something like 60% of the people are not voting. Now, this has been increasing, so it's probably above that now. That means if a reasonable fraction of us could consolidate our votes on something other than Democratic or Republican, doesn't matter whether it's a write-in or a third party or Mickey Mouse for that matter, we could outnumber the Democrats and the Republicans and show that a vote for Democrat or Republican is not what actually won our elections. Now, even if they got in, even if we voted for Occupy, write in the word Occupy, or write in the word AntiVote, whatever, and if we consolidated it and it won, it might not be the next president, but it would show that the next president got in against the wishes of the people. This is something that's not being counted right now. People choose not to vote because they're trying to make a statement. And the statement they're making is, I don't care. Now that might not be the statement that they want to make, but that's the statement the public is getting out of it. As a matter of fact, think about it yourself. If you're one of the people thinking about not voting, don't you usually think, most people do, that the people who don't vote don't care? Do you want people to think that about you? Is that the case? Because I don't think so. I think most of us do care, and those of us who are choosing not to vote probably care the most. So why are the people who care the most choosing not to be heard? There's a way around it. What we need is the right to vote directly against someone. The right to vote directly against the Republican Party candidate, or directly against the Democratic Party candidate, or directly against anybody else that we oppose, instead of voting for the other guy and pretending that's the same thing, because this is why the smaller parties never have a chance. Every time somebody votes for one of those bigger parties, trying to keep one of those bigger parties out, they're failing to realize that those two bigger parties are not really two parties at all. They're one party pretending to be two so that they can get our votes for them by getting our votes against them. So what we need to do is decide as individuals that my one vote will not be wasted supporting a false vote. A vote that is cast for someone solely for the purpose, or mainly for the purpose, of keeping someone out. We need to cast votes that will count in some other way, so that that huge percentage of the population who's been trying to be represented by not voting can actually be represented in some way. And so we can get the message out there that we do care. And so that we can get the message out there that we need the right to vote directly against someone, so we have a reason to vote when there are no good choices. So we can stand up and say there are no good choices, or that the strongest thing I feel about this election is I am against this particular choice. We need to be able to represent things like that on the ballot. If we're voting on a law, one person goes in and says, I want this law, somebody else goes in and says, I want this law not to happen, those are opposites, and they count directly against each other. In our elections right now, somebody goes in and says, I want Barack Obama. Somebody else goes in and says, I want to prevent Barack Obama. It looks like they wanted Mitt Romney. What's wrong with that? Somebody goes in and says, I want Mitt Romney. Somebody else goes in to try to prevent Mitt Romney. It looks like they want Barack Obama. Meanwhile, this means that our smaller parties don't have a chance, and our independents don't have a chance. But you know what? We've got so many people not voting, we can give them a chance. Now, there is a debate coming up. At the time that I'm filming this, it's happening in less than a week now. It's going to be on November 5th, 2012. Third-party debate between Jill Stein of the Green Party and Gary Johnson of the Libertarian Party. Now, I have my preference of those two. I'm not going to state it on this video because it doesn't really matter here. The fact of the matter is that we who care about the fact that we're being deceived, that the people are in general are being deceived and we never have any decent choices, need to find some way to stand together. Now, if either one of these two candidates is willing to say,